Now, you picked up something recently. Actually, I picked it up first, and you got it. You've watched it, and I haven't.
Surprisingly fast shipping from whatever this big. It's almost like a cuss word, right? It's Yippee Ki.
Yippee Ki-Yay or Yippee Kayak or something like that.
Yeah, they're trying to
Yippee Ki-Yay video.
Very Die Hard-esque. So the director of that classic film, 1990s or 91's Captain America, I forget what you called him. Maybe it's Albert Pyun. How you pronounce that?
Pyun. So it's either Poon or Pun.
I like Pun. I wish it was Pun. He's dead now, a couple of years, but his wife was able to get with somebody who had a little bit of archival experience and connections to finally get Albert's work print of Captain America 1990 scanned into 2K, and I'm assuming re-edited somehow and released on Blu-ray. That's the story behind it.
Yeah, and it's got about 14 minutes of additional scenes.
Which unfortunately pushes its running time to 1 hour 51 minutes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in my opinion.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been a while since we reviewed that movie, but his deleted stuff, or the stuff not included and lost to time for a while, it was mostly involving the Red Skull's backstory. Is that right?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't know that I learned anything new or noticed anything new about his backstory. In fact, there's probably slightly less footage from his pre-Red Skull. Really anything. If you want to call it modern day, the modern day for that movie is 1993. So I don't think we get any new Red Skull or whatever his name was, not Schmidt, but something. He was Italian. I don't think we get anything new in the Pyun Cut or the old reel, the work print.
Okay. So what's in the 14 minutes then?
There are new scenes, but they're all from after Steve wakes up in 1993. I know we get one scene that's between Steve and Sharon while he's looking to make a phone call and talking about going to rescue the president in Italy, I guess, or Rome, because he had that environmental conference. We get a little bit more detail about the president and his relationship probably with, I think you called him Ralphie, the guy played by Ned Beatty, the reporter.
Sorry about that. We're getting a UPS delivery.
Oh, yeah, heck of a delivery there.
Switch 2.
Oh, hope it doesn't have staples in it.
Direct from Nintendo.
Word of advice on your usernames. Be very careful about usernames. You don't want to type in something like somebody did recently called Twink Link. Don't do that. You will be permabanned. Your console will be bricked. Your eShop account will be forever locked out to you. Don't do that. Don't try to get cute on usernames.
All right. So back to Captain America. We have, you said there's extended scene with Ralphie?
I think so. When they're talking over the photograph the little boy who grew up to be president took, I think that may be extended. They actually open the movie with the rocket headed towards the White House and the little boy who grows up to be president taking pictures. And then they follow his rise to the presidency with a little bit of a montage of newspaper headlines and maybe some news clips like he was at a press conference. And in my opinion, though, all that stuff is pretty bad.
Can you tell the difference between the new scenes and the original?
Well, I think it's all from the same work print. So even though it's scanned in 2K and it's the best I've ever seen the movie look, it's still very dirty. Whether it's just damage to the film or dirt, it's old. And it just has that look of old film to it. And I was not able to tell any visual difference in the quality of stuff that made it into the original movie and stuff that didn't. It just, in that sense, it looks the same. Although, I think one of the scenes between Steve and Sharon that I was talking about, that to me looks like a screen test. And they even talk about, like Sharon says repeatedly, we're in the 80s, but it's supposed to be 1993, because I guess they were trying to skip over the Gulf War and just assume this is somewhat after the Gulf War. And that instead of Clinton winning the presidency in 92, this guy won the presidency in 92. Gotcha. And the most memorable scene is going to be when the Red Skull has all his crew with him. He wants to demonstrate his mind control technology, so he takes them all out on the balcony. And Darren McGavin is there because he's a little bit more prominent in this cut than the early ones, which normally I'd say, that justifies the ticket of admission alone. But unfortunately, this is probably Darren McGavin's worst role ever. So, but they're all out on the balcony, and he says, "Hello, Elio," or whatever he is, the guy who cuts his hedges. And Elio greets him, and he's real friendly with him. He said, "Elio, would you please do this and this? And after you do that, please kill little Johnny there, whatever the kid's name is." And I don't know if the kid is a relative to the groundskeeper or what. It's just a random kid who's at the Red Skull's tower. And he says, "Okay." And then we cut away as he starts to walk to the kid, and we cut back to the guys on the balcony. And we get their reaction, but it's not like an OMG, how horrific. It's like, wow, how'd you get him to do that? That's really good technology. And then, just in case there was any doubt of what happened, they cut back to the gardener after that. And it's a slow pan outward while he's doing his hedge clipping. And of course, the clippers are covered in blood. Now, I should say here, one of the perceived purposes of this cut was to delve into the character study of Red Skull and the little boy who grew up to be the Red Skull. And even though they didn't give us anything new on his backstory, they were trying to cut more of the movie to make him a more nuanced villain, to delve into his relationship with his mercenary daughter and his love of music that he continued because his mother taught him way back when. You put a scene in the movie like that, you ain't getting no sympathy from me. The only other thing you could have done was have him kill a dog. That's the only thing that would make people hate him. But they probably would have hated him worse if he killed a dog. But man,
So on a scale of 1 to 5 puns, what would you give it 2?
it's a good question. Overall, I think the movie is worse in the pun cut, and it's going to be a matter of perspective because it's not so much a people always say this. If we just knew what got cut out, we would view it as a very different movie. It is not a very different movie. It is, in fact, the same movie. It is merely the same movie with the scenes presented in a different order. They quantum leaped it. They tried to present the days of Captain America's life and the Red Skull's life not in sequential order. So again, we start in a weird place in the midst of the World War II saga. And then we go to modern day, 1993, and we see Steve waking up, and we see the Red Skull. I wanted to give him a little bit of credit for that. The Red Skull, the first time we see him is in his creepy makeup job, trying to cover up his deformities. So I said maybe they're going to make a big deal of his reveal, either via flashback or dramatic editing. But no, they cut to the flashbacks throughout the film, either from Steve's perspective or from Red Skull's perspective. And to me, it just makes it more confusing. Because I've seen the original cut, and that's presented largely sequentially. And if I didn't have that, I feel like I'd be way more confused by the way this cut does the flashbacks. Because even in the flashbacks, they skip around in the order. They'll give you part of a scene, like you'll see the Red Skull launching Captain America after you saw him trying to divert the missile from the White House. And then you go back to see Steve's family with Bernie and all that. And then you'll see Red Skull battling Captain America, but then you'll cut back to Red Skull getting kidnapped. In fact, they show us the transformation of Captain America before they show us the kidnapping and transformation of the Red Skull. So again, probably trying to build sympathy, but they already have the dialogue of Red Skull calling Captain America brother. So that makes more sense when you're watching it sequentially, and you say you've seen the Red Skull, because the 90 cut led off with the Red Skull getting kidnapped and transformed, and that was set the tone for the rest of the movie. Boy, it's just so weird. There's another scene that's kind of important, and so what they were trying to do was build up the survivor's guilt of Steve Rogers. So this new cut tries to delve into him feeling guilty that he went on one mission and failed to save anything except one person. I'd say bullcrap. That missile was going to the White House. That rocket, he somehow diverted the rocket. To me, it was clear he saved the White House and the little kid who grew up to be president. And so he's so guilty, he goes to find his old commanding officer. Forget what his name was, not Darren McGavin, but he looked like Howard Stark, had that mustache. So he goes to meet him in the old veterans hospital, and he's wheelchair bound, and he has Alzheimer's. And they put old person makeup on the actor, and he looks like a Muppet. He also looks like Billy Crystal. He looks like the Billy Crystal Miracle Max, but it's not the worst makeup job in the world. But the problem is they want to play this for hard drama. They want him talking to the commanding officer and talking about how he failed. And the commanding officer, all he can talk about is the futility of war and Vietnam and Korea and America sending her young sons off to die. And they want this big, big dramatic moment. And then, because he has Alzheimer's, he keeps forgetting who Rogers is as he talks to him. And then Rogers is real depressed. But again, he looks like Miracle Max while he's doing all this.
Is it as bad as the rubber ears on the Captain America suit?
Oh, because I've become so numb to the rubber ears, pun intended, I feel like I've somehow accepted it more. Not that it ever looks good, but I spent less time on this rewatch wondering about the ears and why they did that than I did wondering why they put the actor in the old person makeup.
Yeah.
Oh, here's another weird thing. Steve Rogers and Sharon go to the diner before we get the flashback. So we got the flashback of the transformation scene, but we didn't get the flashback that established the lab is underneath the diner. So that's real confusing. Yeah, that scene still is just weird to me. Like the diner is operational 46 years later, and all the private stuff is still down there.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, man. I forget how Captain America kills Red Skull in the 1990 cut, but they linger a little bit longer on Red Skull's relationship with his adult daughter. It's still not good. In my opinion, if you're going to watch this thing, just watch it sequentially. The flashback strategy is not helping, which is funny because we just talked about Superman animated series Last Son of Krypton, and I critiqued whether or not they should have saved the Krypton stuff for a flashback. But this movie makes me realize, no, don't do that.
Well, if you're going to have a flashback, you can have it be a flashback and not broken up in 14 parts. So.
That's why I feel like I'm getting less, because I'm assuming with the way they break up all these scenes into flashbacks, I'm assuming they ultimately show me less than they did before of those flashbacks.
Yeah. So you would say this movie is not worth buying to get the superior cut.
Well,
as a collector, there's value in this is what they originally wanted to do, and it's always nice to support the family member of the deceased director.
Well, I'm not worried about supporting anybody's family, but I'm glad stuff like this exists. When we can have the option to see what could have been that the movie studios don't want to give us. So, right now the so-called Schumacher cut of Batman Forever is popular and being shown places, and Warner Brothers is trying to issue cease and desist orders. But, we got the Donner cut, and we got the Snyder cut of Justice League. And I enjoy that stuff like that can eventually come to light, and I'm glad it does. And I'm always glad when you can work the nobility of the archival profession into media preservation. I'm all up for that. So I definitely say, even though the asking price on the website is a bit steep, it's great that this exists. And if somebody's really curious, I'd encourage them to buy it. But in my opinion, it did not improve my view of the film at all.
Yeah,
sorry.
So it's more of a collector's, you want the whole story kind of thing. I believe it was $40, free shipping, which, for a limited print, that probably isn't making them that much money, honestly.
Yeah.
Anyways, we encourage you to check it out if you are interested, but don't get interested if you weren't already.
Don't get your hopes up too high. That's what I would preface everything with.
Yeah. Well, that was Captain America, the Pyun Cut, pun intended, I guess. All right. Well, I think that's it for this week. Hope you guys have a good week and come back next time.
Bye-bye. Up and away.